Welcome to another episode of the Unprofessional Parenting Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Lainey.
And this is the podcast where we talk through all things foster care and adoption. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about how a foster child, when they first enter your home, they don't just walk in with a bag full of their personal belongings. They walk in with stories and experiences, and sometimes they even bring along with them trauma.
Yeah, so today we will be talking to Shaleigh. She is the Director of Therapeutic Services at our local licensing agency, A Door of Hope, and she's going to be sharing with us why kids have certain behaviors, and then what you as a foster or adoptive parent can do to help them in that process.
All right, let's get to this episode. Welcome to Unprofessional Parenting. We're your hosts, Matt and Lainey.
I'm Lainey, a licensed clinical social worker with over a decade of experience working in child welfare.
And I'm Matt, with more than 10 years working in church ministry. And together, we're foster and adoptive parents who know firsthand that parenting is anything but perfect.
We're here to laugh, learn, and share the real side of raising foster and adoptive kids. Parenting isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up even when you feel completely unprofessional at it.
So let's get into today's conversation. Well, like we mentioned before, we have a very special guest with us on today's episode. We have Miss Shaleigh with us. Shaleigh, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
We're doing
Pretty
great.
good.
Can't complain. Can't complain. Will you tell us a little bit about your position and title within A Door of Hope? And then you wanted to share a little bit of your story and how you got into the foster care game. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I am the Director of Therapeutic Services at A Door of Hope. I get to walk alongside families who are struggling with behaviors and maybe need some extra therapeutic support for their foster kids, their adopted kids, or even their biological kids.
Awesome.
So my job is so important to me because of my lived experience. About 11 years ago, my husband and I became licensed foster parents, and we went through the whole process, and we said that we were going to foster one child. And in the state of Texas, there are levels of care. And so we said we would foster one basic child. Okay. Basic means a perfect child.
Basic kid.
That doesn't exist, period. But that's what we were willing to take.
Yeah.
So naturally, our very first phone call was for 3 kids.
Yes.
They were 6 months old, 16 months, and 2.5 years old.
Okay.
So at that time, we were rested and we were excited and we said yes.
Wow.
So our worlds were turned upside down within 3 hours of us being there.
Yep.
I believed because we'd parented kids those ages that we could do it. I mean, what could be different? These are babies and toddlers. It couldn't be that hard.
Right.
What I didn't understand at the time is even babies come with trauma.
Oh, yeah.
And a 2.5-year-old who was used to being the primary caregiver of her little sibling.
Oh my goodness.
Came with a lot of behaviors.
Wow.
So we spent the next, several months not sleeping. I tell people all the time, I cried more than the kids, and they cried all the time. So in that time, I needed something that A Door of Hope has created with our therapeutic program.
Yep.
I needed someone to come in and walk alongside us and say, okay, let us help you get into therapy. Let us point you in the direction of a really good provider. And I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So I am the Director of Therapeutic Services. I also do a lot of the trainings at A Door of Hope. I'm a TBRI practitioner. So I do all of our TBRI trainings here. And I am also just the person that people can call whenever they're not sure what to do.
Yeah. What is TBRI for those that aren't familiar? What does that mean?
So TBRI stands for Trust-Based Relational Intervention, and it is really just a framework for parenting kids from hard places. So in TBRI, we use the term kids from hard places instead of like traumatized kids or something like that, because it's true. It doesn't matter if a baby comes to you straight from the hospital. They are a kid from a hard place. They've already experienced loss.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
So we're going to talk a little bit today. I think people who are not foster parents yet are listening to maybe even what you just said of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to bring kids into my home and then I'm going to cry every day for the next year of my life.
Right. Or even just watch our past episodes where we're like, this is what's happening in our home.
Right. I think there's a major barrier for people becoming foster parents because they're just fearful of the unknown and fearful of what difficulty becoming a foster parent brings into their home. But I know this isn't a question, but I think it is a testament that all of us are sitting here still foster parents or still adoptive parents, like loving what we do, wanting to continue to invest in this space. And even through all the difficulty that we have been through, it's still so worthy to continue being a part of this and continue helping others come into this space and support them through this space. So with that said, can you give us an idea of maybe some of the top most common behavior struggles you see foster parents bringing to you? Like, Shaleigh, my kid's really struggling with this, or I'm really struggling with this in my home. Like, do you see a pattern of behaviors that's like, yeah, those usually come in the territory of kids from hard places?
Yeah. So we see a lot of behavioral dysregulation. And this is very common for kids who have been through hard things and who haven't consistently had their needs met. So I have parents come to me and they'll say, I told them that they couldn't have a brownie, and then they just threw a fit for 2 hours straight. So we talk through that, and I will try to give them tips on, okay, well, what could we do differently next time to not make that last 2 hours? One really easy thing that I teach people is don't lead with no. Even if the answer is no, don't lead with no, because no is a trigger word. And if we think back to a baby, a newborn baby, a baby cries, we essentially say, yes, I will hold you. Yes, I will feed you. Yes, I will change you. Our kids have had a lot of no messages. No, I won't hold you. No, I won't feed you. No, I won't change you.
And that no has threatened their survival, essentially.
Literally.
Right.
Yes.
It's not just, no, you can't have a brownie. It's like, these aren't kids that are like, oh, you're just not going to be spoiled. This is a no that has threatened the very needs of them as human beings.
Yes, because of their past experiences, that is how their brains process that no. It's not a, well, I wanted a brownie, so I'm just going to throw a fit. It is going to that survival part of their brains, and they can't look past that. So it really is a 2-hour event for them where they feel unsafe. And it all started with that no.
Wow.
Yeah. So what do you do instead? Like, let's play it out. Okay. So a parent.
I'd be the one asking for the brownie.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not going to throw 2 hours.
You asked for the brownie.
No. Let's just, we're not going to act it out here.
No, I know. But what does a parent do instead? Because you have a kid that asks for something, the answer is no. So then what is the parent's replacement behavior here?
Yeah. So when we think that our kids may go to their downstairs brain or their fear brains, we want to be sensitive to that. We need to try to be attuned with our kids so that we know, okay, this is going to trigger them. One thing that always disarms that fear brain is play. If we can be playful with them. So if we could say, I wish I could have a brownie too, but we have to eat our dinner first. Or if we say, oh, well, on Saturdays, we always eat brownies. So on Saturday, we'll have a brownie. So we're not saying, no, you're never going to have a brownie. We're just redirecting it to something else.
Yeah, that's good.
It's really interesting.
Yeah. So
I'll take that home.
I know. I'm sitting here, I'm like, man.
Let me take some notes here.
All right. So what else do you see commonly struggled with in a foster or adoptive home?
I often hear families say, my child lies about everything. I don't know that they know how to tell the truth. And lying is actually developmentally appropriate. All kids go through different stages of lying. So if we think about a 2-year-old, we might ask them, their face might be full of chocolate. And we might say, did you just eat a cookie? No. That's developmentally appropriate because they don't quite yet understand that we know. We see your face, right? Oh, you just ate that cookie.
Right.
But that's developmentally appropriate. But when you have safe, loving, intentional caregivers, we are teaching them, no, we have to tell the truth. Let's try that again. Did you eat the cookie? And we give them the opportunity to tell us the truth. Many of our kids never had that. So many of our kids, they didn't go through the natural stages of lying. but also lying becomes a survival strategy for them. And though we may view it differently, they view it as, I'm getting my needs met. I am surviving by lying about this.
Mm-hmm. What really crushes me when I hear parents that just don't quite understand lying and don't quite understand the trauma that comes behind the lying behavior. I get so sad when I hear those kids labeled as like, oh, they're manipulating me.
Yeah.
Or they're just like, they're such a bad kid, or they're just so like
rotten to the core.
Yeah. Like they just get these labels, and adults become so jaded towards kids that are struggling with that behavior. And it just crushes me because, like you said, it's a survival behavior.
Yeah, it's a strategy.
Yeah.
It's a strategy to get their needs met. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's a strategy to keep them out of trouble in their minds.
Yeah.
A lot of kids will lie because they think, well, if I lie about this, then I won't get in trouble.
Sure.
But what we need to become are parents that are safe enough for our kids to tell the truth to. And when our kids do lie to us, because they will, we need to be intentional about how we respond to the way, or how we respond to them in those moments. So my kids, when they were younger, if they would lie to me about something, I would ask them, is this a truth or is this a story?
Story, that's a good one.
And if they would say it's a story, for example, my son once told me that there was an alligator on the trampoline. Well, we lived in North Carolina, so that wasn't even kind of possible.
Very possible in Florida.
Yes, but we lived in North Carolina.
Sure.
So I knew it was a story. So I said, is this a truth or is this a story? And he said, this is a story. And I said, keep telling me. I want to hear this story.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of thought of it as, if this was a creative writing class and he's writing about this alligator on the trampoline, we'd be like, you are really creative.
Yeah.
But when it comes out of their mouths, they get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
So asking, is this a truth or is this a story? And if they are lying about it, let's give them the opportunity to tell the truth about it. And sometimes it's not right away. Sometimes we have to go back and visit that later and say, hey, earlier you lied to me about your math grade. Let's talk about that. And let's get behind, why are they not telling the truth about this? Sometimes it is the fear of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we don't get in trouble for lying.
Sure.
But we want to be safe people where our kids can come and be honest with us.
Well, what does that mean, being a safe person? How are you a safe person for a child to work through this with?
I think it's just being consistent and being just open with them, being kind to them, being understanding that there's a good chance this is a trauma behavior. This is a learned behavior. We have to change learned behaviors. We have to replace them with a new behavior. So when kids are, you could even do this up to middle school. If a child is lying to you about something, you can have them do a redo. Let's try that again the right way. Let's do this whole scenario over, but you tell me the truth. And I would have the whole conversation again, but I would have them tell me the truth. Now, this is really hard for parents. When it's over, it's over. We're not going to talk about it in an hour. We don't have to talk about it again when dad gets home. When it's over, it's over. That is much harder for us.
Yes.
But it's much easier for kids because kids live in the moment. So we have this whole perspective. We think of all sorts of layers.
Right.
Where kids think of in the moment. So when that moment's over, they've moved on.
This is literally our house, Shaleigh.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time. And this is something we struggle with as adults that, like you said, we are having to train our own brains to just move on.
They're not seeing big picture.
Because our kids move on like so fast.
Right.
So fast. And at first, we were taking this as like
almost offended by it.
Yeah. We were taking this as like, oh, you don't care that you just had this explosion. Oh, you don't care that like we're still upset about this. Like
our relationship's still messed up. Like
we were taking it as an offense, but it's so true. They are like explosive, angry in the moment, and then the next second they will come back to us like, hey, so you want to go throw the football?
Exactly.
We're like, oh, wait.
But it's confusing to our brains. But I actually think about this sometimes. Wouldn't it be cool if we lived in the moment? If we could do more of that?
Yeah.
And when it's over, and we just move on?
It'd be nice.
Yep.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, I want to talk about a little bit, because as you were talking about this lying behavior, it's just so relevant to our household, and I'm sure to many other people's. We have a couple professional liars in our house. They are.
Hold on. They think that they're pros.
Well, yeah.
Perceived
Professionals.
Exactly.
But what we've noticed is that when we were really in the depths of working through this, and I mean like for years, this was not like a 2-week phase. This was years of repetition and working through these behaviors. And they still struggle with it, like years later. We were noticing that it was not necessarily even a choice behavior. Like it wasn't something when we were talking to our kids like, oh, did you just break this? Or I want to say a perfect example is missing homework assignments. Like I can literally see on the portal that your teacher marked this as missing.
Yep.
It's in red.
Yeah.
There's a big 0 next to it. Your teacher wrote a note. You didn't turn this in, right? Like all facts point to this is a missing homework assignment you didn't do.
Yep.
And so when asked about it, like, hey, why is this homework assignment missing? It was like an instantaneous default behavior lie that came out of their mouth.
There's a reason for this. We almost set them up to lie because we ask them. We give them the opportunity to lie. So if we know something, we don't need to ask them. We don't need to ask them if they're missing an assignment. We need to state that we know, and we need to ask them what they're going to do to fix it. So, hey,
good.
You are missing 3 assignments. I see it in your portal. What are we going to do to get those in?
Yeah. So then it just turns into action instead of
or helping them think about what can I do to fix the missing homework assignment. Right.
Yeah, because
setting them up for maybe a successful moment in their life too.
Yes, because if we ask them, hey, why did you not turn this in? They may go to their downstairs brains.
Yeah.
And so then they're not going to have the ability to think, oh, what can I do to make this up?
Yeah.
They're in potentially survival mode. Like, I got to keep up with this lie. Yeah. I can't let them know that I lied. I didn't know about it. I'm not missing one. So if we go at it directly, then we can say, hey, this is missing. What are we going to do to make it up?
You've talked a couple times. You mentioned it, downstairs brain. Obviously, there's got to be an upstairs brain as well. Can you talk about the difference between... Obviously, upstairs brain is not just higher thinking, I'm a smarter person.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about upstairs and downstairs brain?
Yes. So your downstairs brain is basically wired for survival.
Okay.
That's where our breathing and all of the things that we don't think about come from there. That's also where anger comes from. That's where survival behaviors come from. Okay. We don't have to think about it. Have you ever had a situation where maybe your tire blows and you run off the road, and a little bit later you're like, I don't even remember going to the side of the road.
Yeah.
You're in your downstairs brain in that moment. Your upstairs brain is where you can think logically. That's where you're being creative. That's where your regulation lives. So a lot of times when kids are in their downstairs brains, they're dysregulated. Sometimes it doesn't look like dysregulation. Sometimes it does. But they don't have access to the better part of their brain, where the regulation, where the logic, where the reasoning is.
Yeah, gotcha. I want to talk about that. So when they're in their downstairs brain, like they're in survival mode, and I think we're all guilty of this as parents, they are freaking out, they're dysregulated, they're in survival mode. And then we want to come to them and like, let's talk this out logically. Yes. Like, let's go through step by step everything that's happening right now that's wrong.
Yeah.
Explain to us why that doesn't work. Why does that approach to misbehavior not work?
For our home, and I know why Lainey's asking this question, because I'm the kind of person who I don't typically blow up. I don't typically yell or anything like that, but I will, in the midst of a blow up from one of my children, try to have a logical conversation and try to de-escalate the emotion. But she always makes fun of me because she's like, they're not listening to you right now.
Yeah,
no.
You could be the smartest person and like create the best pathway for them to come. It's not going to happen.
No.
Well, I mean, strategically.
Yeah, right.
Strategically, why does trying to help a child de-escalate through logic conversation not work?
They just don't have access to that part of their brain. So when kids are dysregulated, they can only process maybe 5 to 10 words of what you're saying.
Wow.
So in my home,
5 to 10 words, Matt.
In my home, my husband and I have had conversations about this where I've said, when they're dysregulated, that's not the life lesson time. We can't do that. We can do that later when they're regulated. We can go back and have that conversation. But if we are using a lot of words when our kids are dysregulated, we're speaking for ourselves because they're not processing that.
There goes my strategy. Okay, I'll rewrite.
So what's the strategy? You know, we've got a kid that's crying in the corner because they can't have a brownie. Like, what do we do?
We have to work on helping them regulate. So I taught a class recently, and I told the foster parents that kids cannot self-regulate before the age of 3, and their minds were blown because we don't think about that. So that's 3 if a child has been loved and nurtured their whole lives. If our kids haven't, they may be 10 and still not have the ability to self-regulate. So we have to step in and we have to help them regulate. That looks different for many kids. So one of my kids, the number one reason that she's ever dysregulated is because she needs to eat. Her blood sugar is unstable.
Honestly, same.
Yeah. Yes. Her blood sugar is unstable. And if I can get her to eat something, it almost always regulates and she's fine. So one of the things that I teach foster parents all the time, make sure your kids are eating something every 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's so important. Our kids, many of them didn't have the nutrition that they needed from even in the womb and then from birth. And so they struggle with this. My daughter is 11 years old and she still struggles with this. It's not something that goes away. It's something that is part of our lives probably forever. But sometimes it's that. Sometimes they just need something to eat. Sometimes they just need someone to sit there with them through that.
That's our son, man.
Like as in sitting there and not saying anything
Sometimes.
or like...
Yeah, sometimes. I think that we have to meet our kids where they are. And we are the experts of our kids. So we know. I have 6 kids. I parent them in 6 different ways sometimes. Because one of them may need me to just be in the room, but not talking. One of them may need physical touch. They may need me to be sitting right next to them. When they were little, it might have been one of them needed me to hold them like a baby, even though they weren't a baby. We just have to figure out what it is that our kids need and meet them where they are and help them. That co-regulation piece. And sometimes I tell people to think about your child, even if they're 13 years old, as a baby. If they were a sweet little precious baby, we would do whatever we could to regulate them. Think of your kids through that lens.
But we've also seen some really incredible things happen in our home where our kids have worked through some of maybe the things that they struggled with in the past. I think of the other night where, we're getting ready for bed and laying in bed watching the Winter Olympics, USA. And we're laying there and our kids had gone to sleep. But our daughter walks into our room, knocks on the door, and she comes in and she looks at us and she's like, "Hey, I just want to make sure that we are good. I just felt like something was off in our last conversation. And I just wanted to make sure that you weren't mad at me or angry with me or disappointed with me. Or there's something like, if I need to make this relationship right, I want to do so." And we're like, "No, everything's fine from our end." We hadn't even thought about that conversation after we had it. But she walked out of the room. I looked over at Lainey and I was like, "Wow." Like, I've never seen her come into our room and say have the depth of words to explain what she's feeling and explain to us what's going on in her mind and her heart.
For years we have guided her through that process. And I think this was the first time we saw her without our guidance take that proactive step to make sure we were all okay. So that was the first time we'd ever seen her take that step herself to come in and make sure we were okay. And we just realized at that moment, like, she feels so safe. Like, she feels safe.
Which is felt safety. Felt safety is one of the most important things. And it's so simple. So I always ask people when I'm doing trainings, does anybody know what felt safety means? And nobody raises their hands. And I say, it means feeling safe. So if a child doesn't feel safe, it doesn't matter what we know. We know kids in our homes are safe. But if they don't feel it, it doesn't matter what we know. And that didn't happen overnight. It took years. And also, in that way, she used her voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So many of our kids come into care and they don't know how to use their voices. They've never been taught or had the opportunity.
Yeah.
So she used her voice and she had felt safety to come to you
Right.
and share that with
Right.
you.
And it's years of repetition, correct repetition. It's not just years of waiting it out and hoping they get better.
Yeah.
So okay, explain maybe some examples of what felt safety is, because I think a lot of times for us as parents, like you said, we're like, no, our home is safe. What?
Yeah.
Obviously, our home is safe.
Look around.
We've got
Yeah.
food. There's a roof. Like, we're nice people. All these things, but our kids still don't feel safe. So, what is that discrepancy?
Yes. Okay. I love this question. Let's talk about it first from when a child enters a home. I always ask people, why should they feel safe?
Mm-hmm.
They've never met you. They've never been in your home.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they should feel safe.
Sure.
So if a child is entering a home, we want them to feel safe. So we want to make sure that they know what's going on. We want them to know where everything is. Here's the kitchen. Here's the bathroom. Here's your bedroom. Here's my bedroom. We want to make sure that they know the schedule. So they know what we're doing and when we're doing it. Now, do not commit to a schedule of 9 o'clock we're doing this, 9:30 we're doing this.
Oh.
Because if you do that and it's 9:45, that throws them off.
Sure.
So if we keep the sequence of events the same, then they feel safe. They start to settle. They know what's next. And that's really important for felt safety.
Yep. And it's going to come with 1,000 questions about
Yes.
who's taking me to school?
Right.
Yeah.
When are we leaving for school? Like, we leave for school at the same
Same time
every morning. But when are we leaving?
Yes.
And who's picking me up?
Yeah.
And what are we having for dinner? And it's like the same questions every day.
You just said that last night. She's like, I'm so sick of being asked what is for dinner.
I did.
At
I
the
said,
exact same time every single
I'm
day.
like, I got to come up with a strategy of like a menu board or something, because I'm so sick of being asked what's for dinner.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
A menu board, but it's really important to answer those questions.
Yes.
You guys have been doing this for years and you're still getting the questions.
Yeah.
But you're still providing them with felt safety by answering those questions. Yes, it can be annoying because Dad's taking you to school. I'm picking you up. Someone's going to do it. But if they know, they feel better.
Yeah.
They feel safe. And we have to remember that.
Yeah.
We want them to feel safe. And it takes us 30 seconds to answer a question.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like the takeaway for felt safety to me is, just because you as an adult understand that the environment you're providing is safe doesn't mean that that has connected in that child's brain.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that that can't change. So a child can have felt safety and then something can happen where they don't. So an example in my family, I have a daughter who had food insecurities when she was little. And when she came to our house, she always ate. We've never missed a meal. We always have snacks. We have food that's always a yes, but our freezer went out and we had to throw everything away. And I watched this little girl go into what I call her trauma shell. And she was just staring and just a blank stare. And I could tell that something was wrong. And she asked me, are we going to be able to get more food?
Oh my God.
So even though for years she'd had the safety of food, in that moment she didn't have the felt safety of knowing if we would have food. And it's not because we didn't feed her. It's because her body remembers what it's like to be hungry.
Yep.
And that experience made her revisit that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. All right. Let's go into a little bit of traditional parenting versus a trust-based relational type parenting. What is the difference?
I love this topic because I've done both. I was raised in a traditional parenting household, and my first 2 children, my biological kids, we parented them traditionally.
What would you consider traditional parenting?
Traditional parenting would be more of I say something, you obey the first time.
Ooh, first time obedience. That's hold on. That is a huge trigger point in our Christian faith as well. Like, I have seen well-meaning, I'm sure, foster and adoptive parents using scripture of first time obedience. Like, you need to obey me for the first time and learn how to obey the Lord the first time. So why do we need to kind of like throw that away for a second?
So there is a phrase that just triggers my whole body. Delayed obedience is disobedience. It triggers me because one of my adopted kids has a processing delay.
Yep.
So if I punished her every time there was a delayed response, I would be punishing her for something she has no control over.
Man.
It takes her brain seconds longer than a traditional brain to do what I'm asking her to do. To this day, I can say, hey, go put your shoes on. She's not putting her shoes on for 15 to 20 seconds.
Yep.
But I've learned I've got to wait and she's going to do it.
Yep. I was going to say when we first became foster parents, we went through a trust-based relational training because we were struggling with our kids and it was given to us as a referral, and it changed how we parent and it changed how we related to our kids. It was beautiful. But that was something that I remember so vividly being told is when you give a direction, count to 20. And there are times still you need to go take a shower, and then I just wait and I stare and I wait. And sure enough, like most of the time, it just takes our child that time to process what we said and to like make their body and their muscles do what their brain is understanding they need to do.
That connection that this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
But if we don't understand, we view this as a defiant child.
Yes.
I hear people talk about that all the time. They are so defiant. But what if they just don't have the skills to do it the way that you want them to do it? So traditional parenting, it can work for kids who have been loved and nurtured from conception. For our kids who have been through hard things, whose brains are different, it just doesn't work.
No.
And people try it. I talk to people every day of the week who try to parent kids from hard places in a traditional way, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, and if the child doesn't respond in traditional parenting, what follows is consequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
A traditional parenting consequence is to take things away. And I hear this all the time. I took away their iPad, I took away this and this and this, and they're still not behaving. Well, you can't take things away from a child who has lost their first connections in life and expect changed behavior. You just can't. It doesn't work. But what we also can't do is we have to give our kids the skills. We have to teach them the skills. So consequences a lot of times I think are for us. They make
100%
us feel better.
It's the easy thing to do. It's the easy thing.
It is the easy thing to do. But do consequences change behavior? Maybe sometimes. Maybe. But the way that we change behavior is by replacing behavior. So I try to teach parents, let the consequence be a redo. Let's try this the right way. Let's have the body memory of doing it the right way. Because if we want them to have changed behavior, we have to teach them what that looks like.
Yep. Now I will say, always us to throw a wrench into things. We have a child who is extremely strong-willed, and he is going to change the world one day. But
For better or worse. I'm just kidding.
we've literally said he's either going to be a millionaire or he's going to be in prison. Like it's that type of personality.
He's great. Love him.
But when we learned this technique of replacement, like do-overs, right? So when he says something disrespectful, or usually it's like a verbal thing, we used to use the strategy of try again. I need you to say, like, I'm going to let you try again. And that actually turned into a power struggle with him.
Yeah.
So that turned into almost like a trigger of us giving him a try again. He lost it. He is not going to try again. And you are not going to make him open his mouth and say anything differently from what he just said. So that didn't quite work for us.
With him.
Yeah. Like, what do we do? What do we do with something like that?
So like I said earlier, I have 6 kids and I parent them 6 different ways. So I have one child in particular that the redos are so easy with. This is the child that when he was younger, we did redos so often that now he just does them on his own. So he'll slam the door.
Let me try that again.
He'll slam the door and he'll immediately open it and say, I'm going to try that again the right way.
Yes.
Because he knows I'm coming and we're going to practice shutting the door the right
Love
way.
that.
Yep.
But I also have kids who the redo would be a power struggle, and then we would be locked in for a long time.
Yeah, I just
And
imagine
so-
him continually slamming the door the wrong way
exactly.
if we tried to do a redo.
With that child, that's not my strategy. I'm not going to do that. I am not. If I know anything, any strategy is going to trigger a child and make it worse. That's not what I'm doing. Now, with that child, when things have calmed down, I may go back to them and say, hey, can we have a conversation about this? And just try to address it
That's him.
that way.
Yeah, that's him. That's the most effective time to have a conversation with him is blow up's done 10 and 15 minutes later, sit down, and he is just full attentive listening. This is the breakthrough moments for us.
Yeah.
It's like if we can get through this outburst, this craziness, and we can get to that point where he's settled down and he's come off, the high, is just having that conversation with him. I've found that he listens and he takes to heart those things. Again, I don't need to probably shouldn't go into a longer than 15, 20 word, explanation of what happened and all those things. But he's good about listening after.
Yeah,
the
But
fact.
if he's regulated and he can process those words, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, some kids, it can be 10 or 15 minutes later. Some kids, it's the next day.
Yeah.
We really have to know our kids and
Yeah.
what they're capable of
Yep.
and follow their lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of trial and error. Like if you've got a kid that just moved into your home 2 days ago, you don't know that kid,
Right.
so you gotta
Yes. And
take a lot of practice.
Learn quick.
yes. I always tell people, just do the next right thing over and over again.
Yep.
Sometimes
Yep.
it feels like I'm making no progress, and you may not make progress for 3 months. And it might be so small that you really have to look for it to see it. But if we keep doing the next right thing, we keep meeting their needs, we keep focusing on connection with them, we are going to make breakthroughs.
Yeah. Now I've also heard some pushback to this I guess philosophy of connecting with a child over giving them consequences, because I think on the surface it feels very permissive and it feels like gentle parenting and things like that. So I remember when we were going through this training process, I think we were both raised in traditional parenting homes.
Very much so.
Like, I told you this, you did this, and both of us were rule followers. Like we were good kids, so to speak. If you want to label it like that, we followed the rules. When we got consequences, we didn't like it, we changed what we did, right? So it worked for us. And just naturally, that's the type of parenting that we
Absolutely.
started with. And when we were going through this training, in my mind, I knew what I was being told to do made sense for a trauma-related behavior. I was like, I can see why that's important. It makes sense to me why connecting with a child heals their brain and why healing their brain and giving them safety produces better behaviors. Like the chain made sense to me when we talked about it in a class setting.
Yeah.
But when you're in real life and I'm standing in my living room and you just like threw a piece of furniture across the room, I'm angry. I'm boiling, you're angry, you're crying. It's just everything is so heightened. And the last thing I wanted to do was sit there and co-regulate with this child.
Yes. Yeah.
Their bodies were the next thing flying across the room in my mind.
Right.
But it just felt so unnatural. So why does it work? Like how is this not permissive parenting and how does this work?
So it felt unnatural to you because it was unnatural to you. It wasn't what you knew. And in those moments, just like with our kids, if we're dysregulated, we're going to go to our downstairs brains, and in our downstairs brains,
I'm gonna start telling that to you. Yeah, you're downstairs.
in our downstairs brains are our perceived strategies that worked in the past.
Yeah.
Not necessarily our best strategies. So if we're dysregulated, we may go back to being
good.
traditional and expect it to work. It's not going to.
It's good
I
word.
always say, two dysregulated people don't make a regulated person. So if you are dysregulated and your child is dysregulated, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to go in the other room for a few minutes or if you have to, put them in front of the TV or give them some kinetic sand or something so that you can take a break. But I will tell you, if someone tells me that TBRI is permissive parenting, I will always say you're doing it wrong. Because TBRI, when done correctly, is the complete opposite of permissive parenting. Yes, we're focusing on connection. We were made for connection. But we are addressing everything. We're not letting anything slide. Now, there's a quote in a TBRI video that says, "Don't go after a gnat with an elephant gun." That's a traditional thing. We're going to go after a very small little problem as if it is huge. And I've even had a foster parent tell me that if they didn't address a 3-year-old's behavior in a certain way, they were going to end up in jail. That's going after a gnat with an elephant gun. So we're addressing everything. It just looks differently. The connection piece, our kids did not come to us through our wombs. They came to us through foster care and through adoption. So that connection piece isn't always just naturally there. Most of the time it's not. So we have to have that connection so that they can learn to trust us. We have to empower them so that they have a voice. So they learn, like your daughter, to come and talk to you whenever something doesn't feel right. And when we have a strong connection with our kids, when their needs are met, when they are empowered, and by empowered, I mean, make sure they're eating regularly. Make sure they're not dehydrated. Make sure that they have sensory activity regularly. When we are connecting and empowering, our corrections are more successful because we have those other things. Now, sometimes people will ask me, and these are people coming from a more traditional mindset, they'll say, why can't we start with correction? Because if we don't have that connection, if our kids aren't regulated, that correction isn't going to be successful. We're going to be on this hamster wheel of doing the same thing over and over and over again.
I always think, like, why does a child who doesn't really know you or feel connected to you care anything about what you have to say in life? Like, they are not scared of consequences. They are not... Like, there's even times I have to laugh because it's just so relevant to our home. We live this. And I know so many other people live it too. Like, the times that our son has done something wrong, he knows he shouldn't have done. And I look at him and I go, all right, no more video games. And he looks back at me and goes, okay.
And
I'm just like,
now you're not.
And I go, okay, well,
no friends.
Now, early bedtime, right? It's like, if that's not going to get you, then something else will.
We're just going to keep going until something upsets you. But it doesn't change behavior.
No.
It doesn't. And we've done it. We've done so many times the spiral of, I'm just going to keep piling on consequences until you feel it and feel bad. But then I'm like, well, what is the point of that? Like, then we're just trying to, like, tear our child down so that they feel horrible about themselves and what's going on. Like, that shame also doesn't produce healing.
Well, and our kids, many of them in their invisible backpack that we all carry, it's so full of shame already. So you're just feeding that by doing those things. Now, we're all human. And as parents, sometimes we do things like that. Like, we're going to take this, and this.
We're not proud of it.
No, of course. We all have moments that we're not proud of. But what we need to do after that is repair that rupture. And it's okay when everybody's regulated to go back and say, okay, buddy, that wasn't okay. I'm not actually going to ground you from your friends for a month and all of that. And I was dysregulated too. I think it's so important to have conversations like this with our kids because we're the parents. If we can go to them and say, I was dysregulated, I didn't mean this, and apologize. How powerful is that?
Huge. We actually just did a couple weeks ago an episode on repairing the relationship. And we talked about in that episode how powerful it is and how deep a connection can go and grow after us as parents admit, hey, we just made a mistake here and we're really sorry for it. And just that sometimes those repair moments are even stronger than
Getting it right the first time.
Yeah, getting it right the first time. Yeah. Then if a blow up had never happened.
I'm not saying don't try to blow up so you can have that repair because it doesn't work like that.
It's going to happen.
Right.
So when it does happen, that repairing that rupture is so important.
Yeah.
If we don't repair that rupture, then it's kind of still open. It's like an open wound.
Yeah.
And we just pile on to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. I love that you have a whole episode about that because it's one of the most important things.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it if you haven't yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, Shaleigh, this has been an unbelievable episode.
Yeah.
I really appreciate having you on. We gotta have you on again.
I know. Super
like
practical.
As we were talking, I'm like, we could have gone into that a little bit more. We could have gone into that a little bit more. So we'll have to have you on again. It's great because we know where you live and we know where you work.
I work right down the hall.
Exactly. Perfect. So we'll have you on again, but this has been such a great episode. Yeah. And if you like conversations like this, we encourage you to like and subscribe to our stuff. Invite your friends to join in. If you're starting your foster care journey, we're here along with you. We want to supply you and help you in your journey and to say yes to something that is sometimes really hard, but it's incredibly rewarding at the same time to help out children and to step into the brokenness and be a safe space. So this has been Matt
and Lainey
and Shaleigh, and we will say we'll see you on our next episode. Thank you.